Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have an update for you for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. And in this project I'm working on 4 eyeshadows that I randomly rolled in with the caveat of like them not interfering with my Panda palette specifically. So yeah, let's take a look at what I have been working on. Starting off with actually the one that I have used the most. This is the Urban Decay shadow box, and in here I'm working on the black shade, which is right up here. And I have used this guy 15 times over the last month. And I'm using that as my eyeliner, basically. That's the main use, which technically does interfere with the green shade in my Panda palette. But I have been using black eyeshadows as my eyeliner for so long that I knew at some point I wanted to go back to a black eyeliner, and I'm just gonna have to be using that dark green that I was using for my Panda palette in my other V. That type of thing. And this, it's just such a full-on black. It's called Blackout actually. Probably is one of like a more common shade from Urban Decay. Yeah. I'm liking it, although like the contrast now, I really had to get used the first couple of times when I started using it to the fact that it's just a full-on black again, which was what I have been doing a lot beforehand, but not as much anymore lately since I used up a black in my Lancome Color Focus Quad. And actually that one also was not like a overly intense black. This one definitely is, and partly because of that, I think when the light hits it the right way, you can see that I've used it, but I can barely see a dip in here, so that's telling me something, because these pans are relatively deep in comparison. Like, I've already hit pan on a couple of shades in here, and I know it takes me a little bit to hit pan on them. I have used this in my outer V just very lightly today as well, just to darken things up a little bit more, because the darker shades in my Panda palette are not like ridiculously dark, or they fade quite easily since they are a little bit older. But yeah, used this one 15 times. And I wouldn't be surprised if it takes me about 100 times of using it to be able to hit pan, but I'm okay with that. It's an easy enough shade to incorporate with everything else that I'm doing, and I will use this basically on the daily, so all good for that one. Then I have my 88 palette here, and in that I'm using 2 different shades. So let's start off with the first one. And I feel like I've made the most progress on that one. I guess it's just slightly different consistencies or something, but I'm working on this brownie shade right here, and that reminds me I should be doing swatches talking about the consistency. So swatch number 1, black. Not that much of a surprise that it looks like that. This is the second shade we're talking about, and it's like a cool toned beigey, like light-ish brown. I've actually liked this one quite a bit. I've been able to incorporate this fairly easily with my Panda palette, just kind of topping it over certain things that I've been wearing, just because my Panda palette doesn't really have any sheen or shimmer to it, like little bits of shimmer. No, not shimmer, sheen maybe. But this is really nice to use on my lid as kind of like on top of something, or as the base, just the color on my lid, to give stuff a little bit more shine. And I've been trying to do slightly more cool toned looks, although I did combine them with the burgundy shade from my like Catrice Quad as well. So like today it's like bluish shades on the inside, yes, blue, and then the burgundy on the outside, which makes it very wearable and still like warm enough for my liking, which is actually really nice. But anyway, you can definitely see that I've used this shade, which I'm excited about. I'm expecting this one to be the first one that I will hit pan on in the next little bit. And I've used it 5 times. That is my goal. I have 1 shade that I try to use as much as possible, which is the black shade at this point in time. And then the rest I try to get at least 5 uses on, so I'm not taking away too much time from my Panda palette, but still can make some progress on the eyeshadows, and that's what I've been doing with this guy as well. But I'm very excited to see how much difference you can see with those 5 uses. Then I'm also working on the pink shade right here, and this one is just a little bit more hardly pressed, I guess. It's a little bit less buttery or soft. This one is a fairly like buttery soft shade for like the fact that this is like an 88 palette. Like it's a surprisingly nice texture actually. But yeah, the pink shade, also have really liked using this one because it's just a more intense shade. And again, my Pan palette shades are slightly older, which makes them a lot more muted. So it's nice to be able to put this in. Like I tend to put that a little bit more on like the outer part of my lid, kind of like middle to outer part. So I put a lighter shade on like the inside, and then this goes right after that. It's more hardly pressed, a little bit like tougher in texture almost, which is why I feel like the progress on this guy does not seem to be as intense. But that is the shade right here. So also not like ridiculously bright or anything, but just a nice little break from the mutedness of the shades in my Pan palette, which I've been really enjoying. And also that one I have used 5 times. No pen yet, but we'll get there. And then of course I have my Decay baked eyeshadow here in this dark blue shade, which doesn't really have a name. And since it's a baked eyeshadow, you're not really seeing much progress on this guy. I'm focusing on this side right here, just kind of on the lower part, because I'm hoping to at least see a bit more progress there. Of course, when I'm going like straight in the middle, it's going to take me 150,000 uses to be able to hit pan on it. So I decided to focus on the sides with the hope that I might even be close to getting to pan. I think I said I wanted to try and get at least, I forgot what it was, 20 or 30. I'm gonna have to rewatch the video. I think it was 30 uses on this one, just to be able to make like some proper progress, but my expectation isn't per se that I'm gonna hit pan on it. Just because it is a baked eyeshadow, they don't move as quickly, and like the don'tness of it like doesn't really help, of course, either. This is what the shade looks like. I've used this in combination with like the bluish shades that I have on my lid now as well. And again, because it's like not as intense as it might look, it seems to have kind of a blackish base with like a blue sheen on it, but it also fades a little bit more easily, so it's easy enough to wear. It's kind of just the outside of my lid is a little bit darker, but not like intensely dark blue or anything, so it's easier to use than I thought it would be. Not my favorite shade, but I'm using it, which is a good thing. But yeah, also 5 uses on that one actually. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that basically is all I have to tell you guys today, because of course I did not hit pan yet, so we're not rolling anything new in. I'm not going to overwhelm myself with rolling something new in every single time for this specific project, because of course I do that in my deck of panning, not here. Like I said, I'm using this one as my focus palette, so I'm gonna try and keep focusing on that black shade. And my expectation is that this brown shade will be the first one that I hit pan in, so I might try focusing on that a little bit more. We'll see. I'll think about it. But that's it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye!